and welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. Oh my goodness, I have Alec Hamrick, a return guest. Alec, you're back. You didn't get sick of us. You came back. I know you have stories to tell.
I do.
Okay, good. Anyway, put a pin in that just for a second. He has returned from his missionary trip, Biking for Babies. Look at his shirt for you who are watching. And we're going to get an update about that. And then I'm going to grill him. Ask him questions gently about his experience of being a high school teacher at a Catholic school. So we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So, but first, I am hoping that you're all, obviously you're all listening in some way because here we are together, but we have so many ways to listen and watch now. You can listen on most podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, but now we're also on YouTube, so you can go there and watch us in action. How fun is that? You can see us doing expressions. I'm Italian. I use my hands a lot. So that is what you will be seeing if you go to YouTube. Also, I have homework for you because we're heading back to school now. So please listen, watch, subscribe, share, rate, and review, and you will get an A+. Anyway, please do all that. We really need you to get the word out, and all you have to do is just click the little 5 stars and write a little short review, and that would just really help our mission here. We also have a website, freshcatholic.com. Head over there. So if you don't have something to listen to this podcast on, you can always go to our website and find it there. And it's always updating, so that's really good news. And we also at our website have Fresh Catholic courses with educator Charles Merritt. So there is the Hail Mary, the Our Father, a series on sin. There is the Bible study of the Gospel of Mark. And we have a new series coming out on angels. So go check that out. We have a Fresh Catholic blog, online store, Fresh Catholic comics. Oh my goodness, go check out that website. You will not be sorry. Also, last but not least, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Fresh Catholic. I do little videos every day, so go check those out and tell your friends. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have. Short but sweet this week. And one more thing, I'm sorry. If you're interested in sponsoring us or being one of our Patreons, you can certainly do that at the website. Also, anything would be appreciated to keep this podcast and mission up and running. Okay, speaking of missions, you're back.
Yes.
I was following you on social media and seeing all your adventures. Yeah. It looked very exciting.
It was.
It was.
It was the highlight of my summer.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It was the highlight of my summer. I would say the highlight of the trip was getting to serve the bikers in that way that I got to. It was a huge blessing. Also, it was very hard at the same time. No work that we're doing for the Lord really goes without, hardship or anything like that. The unexpected. We encountered the unexpected, but another part of it was the generosity of those around us, that people that's mission partners and those that support our mission, and, people opening their homes and the food that we got and getting to share our testimonies and stories. And that was the best, I would say the best part.
Wonderful. And before we get too much farther into this episode, can you remind my listeners what Biking for Babies is?
Yeah.
Just an overall view of it and what your goal is.
So the mission of Biking for Babies is we are a missionary program open to all faith or all Christian beliefs. One of our core values is union with the cross, union with Christ on the cross, and the dignity of all human persons. And we form young pro-life missionaries of anyone that's interested. So if anyone is interested, please refer to the website of Biking for Babies and see if maybe God is calling you to apply or see, then. But we shall, one of the things that, we really strive on is the importance of the gospel of life and the dignity of the human person. And we actually have members of all faiths. We had, on my team, we had a evangelical and a Lutheran along with us. And we just ask that everyone 98% of the sponsors are Catholic. So we just ask that everyone is open to faith. Mm-hmm. And that they're open to, when we have a faith event such as Mass or praise and worship, mostly Mass, or adoration, that they're open to that. And everyone was open to it. We actually, one of the teams had a LDS member, so that was really cool. It was really cool to get to talk to him.
Well, I guess the goal is saving babies. So, if you have a heart for that, then it's the number one thing, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really cool. That was really cool to meet people of all different faith backgrounds and different stories. Even like being in California my whole life, getting to meet Catholics from all over the country, we're all the same and we all believe the same, but yet we have a different outlook and, on different things, or our experiences are a little bit different.
Sure.
It's no experience or encounter is the same.
Right. But you have that common thread.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So that was beautiful.
And then what's the ultimate goal of Biking for Babies?
So we're raising, it's to spread dignity for the human person, and to raise money and awareness for pregnancy resource centers across America.
Yes, which I fully support.
Yes.
Because I think that's the answer to many of the abortion problem. Is to give women a place to go.
Absolutely.
So that they can have their babies.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful.
And I'm part of 2911 Maternity Home in El Cajon, and they do things like such as job skills, and they have automotives, different life skills that they may need, such as maybe getting a driver's license or different things that they may come across, job, like how to apply for a job,
practical things,
and it teaches them how to budget money and tithe, which is a very important thing too.
Right.
So I think that it's getting women on their feet, and that's what we need. We need to get them on their feet.
Right. And speaking of 2911, now, last time you were here, because if you haven't seen the episode that we did before with Alec, before he went on his missionary trip, he was talking about 2911, and I said, well, what is that? And so you now have an answer. I'm so excited. Yeah. So follow up to the question.
So to answer your question, the 2911 maternity home is, it's based off of Jeremiah 29:11. Before I formed you, I knew you.
I know, I love that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite quotes, especially it's how I tell people, why I'm pro-life and why I don't believe in abortion is because before the Lord formed us, he knew us. He knew our plan.
Right.
He knew our, how many hairs we were going to have on our head. He knew that we were going to be sitting here together.
Right.
Talking and just collaborating, and
so that makes such perfect sense, doesn't it? Now that we know that, it's like, doesn't that make perfect sense, guys? I knew there was going to be something, and that makes me so happy that you figured that out.
And the parent, to be a mom for the first time, I've been really reflecting on this a lot. If being, a mom for the first time, there was a time, well, I'll give, before I formed you in the womb, you may not know what God's plan is for you.
Right.
But the Lord does.
Right.
The Lord knew that you were destined to be a mom, and destined that your baby would be born on a certain day and how it would happen, and, you probably, in some cases, the mom isn't ready or, one of the things that I did was, I learned I was really scared when I went the first time to be a support group because I had never, you could be taught like virtually and be told what to do, but that doesn't really prepare you or tell you how to be a support crew missionary. Or, it's similar to being a mother for the first time. Like you could be told, yeah, this is how you change a diaper. But until you change that diaper or hold that baby, you don't know how to do it. Like,
that's right.
It comes with experience.
Right.
And, so I was just really sitting there fathoming that, sitting there in mass. And I was like, Lord, I have all these lives in my hands. Like I'm scared, like I don't, and if he of course provided.
Right.
But that is similar to what a mom would probably feel like.
Sure.
Lord, I'm entrusted to be a mother to this child. I don't know how to do it.
Right. Well, that's true. And you have to, we all take it a step at a time. When you're a mother, you don't get a grown-up child. You get a baby, and it's a day at a time. And you're going to make mistakes, but that's okay, because especially if you know that the Lord is with you and you have this baby, it's all going to work out. And if you come at everything with love with the baby, then, it's your baby. So you'll go along with each other.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I really, really focused on, while I was on mission. And it got, like I said, it got better as time went on, once I got the hang of things, and I was able to do it.
That's wonderful.
Serve these bikers in a father's love, like it's what the Lord would do for his children. I got to care for them as the Lord would care for his children, because they were my fellow missionaries. So of course it was my pleasure to serve them in whatever they needed.
Yeah, so you took care of them on the trip, and we talked about that in the last episode, that's what your plan was going to be. So you already said the high point of your missionary trip was serving to be of service to the bikers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As well as the hospitality of those around me.
Yeah, that's nice. What was your biggest challenge in this trip?
The biggest challenge was, that's a good question. Yeah, it was, I would say that the biggest challenge was probably the fact of not like a feeling that I wasn't worthy, or feeling like I failed if I made a mistake, because I made a couple of them, no one died or got hurt, so that's a miracle.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so
if he came and said somebody died, we'd have a whole other podcast going on here, and
yeah,
I don't want to get into that. Okay.
No one got hurt or anything like that. So obviously I did okay, but but there were, we made a couple of mistakes, and just not knowing or being like afraid, like, am I worthy of this? Am I worthy of this? We had our challenges. We experienced the unexpected. Van broke down maybe 3 or 4 times, having to push it across. I don't know if you read about that.
Yes.
Okay. Having to push it across from over to Sam's Club from a place called Cheddar's in Terre Haute, Indiana. And so yeah, we got to push the van, and then it got stuck. It earned its name because it got stuck in a ditch. So we named our van Ditch.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But
see, all these then make stories. If everything went smoothly, first of all, that wouldn't be life.
And that would be boring later on.
Boring. So,
but we have stories, and getting stuck in Terre Haute was actually a blessing. That was a challenge too, because I got kind of bummed because it was a challenge but a blessing, because I had really worked hard on getting this, and it's not about me, but I had worked really hard on getting this stop organized. And I was so upset because we were supposed to get there by noon. Like, we were going to beat the heat. It was going to be by noon. It was our shortest day. We had lunch prepared for us. I was excited because I'm like, I don't have to prepare food that day. Well, the Lord had other plans, and Ditch decided to not start in the parking lot.
Oh, Ditch.
And,
come on, Ditch.
And we ended up getting stuck in Terre Haute until like 9 a.m. because Ditch had to go to a body shop and be towed away. And they
Serves you right, Ditch. Serves you right.
Yes. So we got to so we had this kind man that took us home, but I was really bummed for the bikers because that was the day that it gets really, really hot. And because like Indiana is pretty mild compared to like Illinois and Missouri. And so watching them like having to ride in that heat, when it gets in the heat of the day, like 3 o'clock, that was a challenge for me because I wanted to, it stressed me out knowing that, okay, they need those they have ice hankies is what we call them, which is a bandana that they're sewed in so you could put ice in them.
Oh, yeah.
So you could have an ice pack. And so that was really challenging because I was worried about them because of the heat. And like at 11 o'clock, they're already asking for ice packs, like to cool them down. So that was really troublesome. And then I'm like, we should already be there,
But it ended up working out.
It ended up working out because I'd only slept, all of us support crew, we'd only slept like between 0 and 1 hour and 30 minutes the night before. So doing support crew work and then talking to our mission partners and stuff like that. So that was the night that we actually got a full night's sleep. 9 hours.
Oh, wow.
So
it worked out okay.
It worked out okay, but it was also a challenge to worry about the bikers because they had to leave in the heat of the day and started in the heat of the day because it was already hot by 9 a.m. So they had to leave, like, usually they're halfway done or more than halfway done by the time the heat sets in. And so that day, they had to start, like, right as it was, like,
that's
heating.
Too bad.
So that was hard, and then, of course, the band stuff. And
Ditch.
Yeah.
What did you learn that will help you next time you go? Like, what's the one thing where you go, oh, that was something I learned and I must do that next time?
More prepping and making sure that my stops were better prepared, like, ahead of time, because there were some, I didn't realize it before I left, but I had left a few things blank. So I had to scramble to get them, things answered and ready to go, And then I think that another thing would be I could probably use more time in spiritual formation, spending more quality time in spiritual formation than what I did. I mean, because I did a lot, but I could always do more.
Well, and I think that's why when we do things like this, anything we do in life, the first time you do it, it's going to be a bit bumpy.
Yeah.
And then when you do it again, you go, okay, so last time this didn't work or this did. And then prepping is a big part of anything. So that's a good lesson.
Yeah. So whether I decide to be on the bike next year or support crew missionary, I do have some discernment to do on that because I definitely want to go back. I definitely feel called to go back. This is my mission in life. I'm a young single guy. I'm not married. This is my time to do it. And so I think that I I have some discernment to do because I was told that one of my missionaries told me, a biker, he said, I know that you want to be on the bike, but he's like, you make a stellar support crew.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, Lord, do you want me to be support crew or do you want me to bike? And so maybe I will train for the bike, but I'll probably end up doing support crew again.
And that was a very nice, encouraging compliment.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
so, and I could always grow as a support crew too, and once I have the hang of it,
right,
it'll be less rocky.
What is the tally of donations so far? Do you know? Because I know it's still open. Like our listeners, we can put a link and people can still donate, correct?
People can still donate up until September 30.
Oh, so see, perfect.
And I'm about 20% of my goal.
Great.
So $995 at the moment.
Wow. Well, Catholics are procrastinators. Sorry, guys, but you are. You show up at 11 o'clock for 11 o'clock Mass. I know because I do the greeting. And everybody waits till the last second. So procrastinators or not, donate to Biking for Babies because it's very worthwhile. And we will put a link so that you can donate to this very worthwhile cause.
And please, if you would like to support me, please donate to me specifically to my campaign. Because I'm trying to...
It doesn't go right in Alec's bank account, so don't think that.
It does not.
Or does it? No, I'm just kidding.
I will not see a penny of this money. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But the babies need your help, so.
The babies, do it for the mamas and the babies.
Yes.
As I did. And I had to remind myself a couple times because you get so caught up in what you're doing that sometimes we forget why we're doing what we're doing. And I had to tell myself, Alec, you're doing this for the babies and the bike. You're doing this for the babies and the mamas, know, and that was my motivation to keep going.
Good.
Especially like when I was tired or...
Well, I'm glad you went. I'm glad you came back to give us an update.
Yeah.
Is there any last thing you want to say before we switch gears and talk about our second subject today?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us an update. I was excited that you were coming back. So go listen to the other episode if you haven't. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears.
Okay.
You ready? Don't be afraid. Here we go. So you are a high school teacher at Santa Clara High School in Oxnard, California.
Yeah.
And I've come twice to talk to once to your, like the school, right? Or a part of the school.
You talked to you've come 3 times.
Oh, I've come 3 times?
Yeah.
So old and forgetful. Have I come 3 times? Oh my goodness.
Because you came for the junior retreat.
Okay.
You talked to the whole junior class in the gym.
Oh, right.
And then you spoke at our faculty retreat last year.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's what threw me off.
And then you spoke to my class, my juniors, and one of my sophomore classes.
Yes. So, yes, thank you. See, I'm so old and forgetful. Thank you for reminding me.
No, you were not.
Anyway, and what subject do you teach?
I teach religion.
Religion.
I just found out that I'm all religion this year. Last year I was in the science department. I taught one section of PE. That was a little rough, but
okay. I'm all religion this year. I think you should get a t-shirt that says that. I'm all religion this year. I'd wear that.
Yeah.
We should make those at Fresh Catholic. I'm all religion this year.
I actually have another idea for another t-shirt design, but
okay. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so now I'm going to ask you some questions.
Absolutely.
Because I think my dad was a retired teacher and he taught every grade. And he taught high school, and he was great at it. I don't think if I were a teacher that I would like teaching high school. I think it's a major challenge, but I think some people are really good at it. And I'm just wondering, what is your favorite part about being a high school teacher?
Well, my favorite part about being a high school teacher, I can relate. Favorite part about it is it's really cool because they are old enough to where you could have a sense of humor. You could they could understand your jokes or whatever, and the maturity level. You can get to know them, because they're the future of the church. And so you could really dive deep into a lot of cool different subjects, such as the pro-life movement, such as euthanasia, such as war. War. What does the Catholic Church think about war, and different things that are in our life. So you get to actually talk about real stuff. Like, not just like Bible stories are great, but you're not just talking about Mary's little lamb. You're actually talking about real things, real sins, big girl sins, it's like, so, and it's cool because they understand you don't have to always sugarcoat everything.
Right. So out of I know school is just starting, but not every student there is Catholic. So what's the percentage of Catholics at that high school that you teach?
I would say it's about roughly between 85 and 90%.
Oh, that's great. But I didn't know.
Not everyone practices, though.
Okay, but they're Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a general understanding of the Catholic faith.
Usually, yeah.
That's good. This is a big question, but what are some of your challenges?
So, challenges could be, some could be like those that don't believe, because those that don't believe or aren't or they haven't been raised with that foundation. Because of what I teach, some of my subject matter has gotten kids pretty triggered.
Yeah.
Certain topics or issues, and so I just have to deal with it and weather it. So that can be an issue. And then, there are, sometimes it's the apathy of kids just not caring.
Right.
Because a lot of them are at that age, 15, 16, 17, where some of them have been in Catholic school their whole life. And so they're like, we think that they think they know it all, like that they're the adults, they think they know it all. And so they just don't care. And so I had classes, and I'm like, I told the students, I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm just talking to the wall. You actually need to contribute to my lecture. And I'm not just talking to the wall. I'm talking to all of you. I'm teaching all of you.
Right. Then do they respond when you say that? Does that make them? Because sometimes I think people, not just teenagers, but I think people in general, they just kind of sit like a bump on a log until you like say, I would like you to engage in this with me, or what do you think, or how do you feel, instead of just, like you say, talking to a wall.
Yeah, because I was like, most of the time they were pretty good and paying attention, but I did have those times where they're like, I look at it as defiance or misbehavior of someone, watching Netflix on their iPad while I'm trying to teach and not engaging with me as I'm, teaching for 50 minutes or whatever the class period is, So that would be a challenge.
So speaking of that, is at your school, because I know the different schools vary, are they allowed to have a cell phone and iPad out during class?
They're not, but usually sometimes, and I'm going to be more strict on it this year, actually. I would let them use it for note taking, or if I
no, people get out your pens and your pencils, paper.
I would let them use it.
That's I can't even think of the word I want to use. That's just asking for trouble.
Well, that's gonna change this year.
That's smart.
That didn't quite pan out the way I wanted it, because I thought, like, there are some that I could trust, but then there are those some that oh, well, he gave us a journal to do on our iPads, so they do the journal, and then lo and behold, they're acting like they're still working, but they're playing a game.
I think it's better to go back old school.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like if schools, especially like just say within your school, if the whole school had the same policy, then it's not one way in one class, one way in another class. If all the teachers got together and said, this is what we're doing, when they all come to school, they need to be focused on school.
Yeah. Now, I like to integrate technology into my teaching. Like, there's great videos that I could play. I could do Fresh Catholic podcast.
There you go.
You know, and I do give them homework on their iPads, especially like if I want them to research something or open the catechism, or, you know, their books are on their iPad, but I'm not going to allow, you know, iPads to be out while I'm talking.
Right. And speaking of Fresh Catholic, you and your students and other teachers out there, you could have them listen to the daily mass readings every morning first thing, and then they're all getting that under their belt.
Yeah.
And that goes for all of you. You can listen on your way to work or school, getting ready in the morning, but that might be a thing at Catholic schools. If you put on Fresh Catholic, the daily mass readings, there it is. And it's done very, very well produced. Anyway, give it a try. I think you might like it.
I've actually done it quite a few times.
Yeah,
played it.
Yeah, a lot of people are really enjoying it, and I think it's so doable. It's like 5 to 7 minutes depending on the day.
It's a perfect way to do Lectio.
Yeah, it's really good.
So I could rewind and keep, you know.
There you go. So, what do you wish most for your students? Like, what's your, you know, you've been doing this now a few years, and I know it's been at different levels and things, but I think as you go along, just the same, it's just how life is. The more you do something, you know, you learn from your mistakes. You say, okay, like we talked about even with the missionary trip. When you are a teacher or a parent or anything, it's like, okay, we did this didn't work. Now we're going to try it this way. And I'm just wondering, what is your wish? Like going into the school year, what's your wish for this group of kids you're about?
So because I am a religion teacher, the faith is very important to me. And my goal is, because I am working with the future of the church, that I'm forming these students. And that is why I've decided that I'm going to become more strict with my discipline in the classroom and my classroom expectations, and actually, you know, enforcing them. Like, you know, because I would start really good, and then I would sometimes get lax. But one thing that I've decided is that I'm going to be more strict, because I want to make sure that every one of my students has at least one encounter with Christ throughout the school year. I'm hoping it's many, but if it's only a couple, if it's only one, then I've done my job.
Right.
You know.
And also, one of the things my dad used to say, I often think about this, is he used to say, be firm but fair.
Yes.
So, you know, kids like structure whether they think they like it or not. And if you know, have a set of rules and you stick with them, then they'll know that's the rules. And I'm sure it'll be a little bumpy at first, but that's, you know, they're there to learn. I'm wondering, the religion class, is that a required class, or is that an elective?
It is required.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. All 4 years, if they're there all 4 years, they take a religion class every year.
I love that.
So there's 4 levels: religion 9, 10, 11, and 12. 9 focuses on like Christology and in scripture, you know, the Old and New Testament. That was really fun when I got to teach that, because I got to teach about the apostles, you know, and how they were picked, and, you know, like God didn't always choose, you know, the saintliest of people,
right?
You know, and stuff like that. But then I get to do Christian heritage, and, you know, from like the Protestant Reformation, which they're learning about in their history classes, but they're also going to learn it with me. Mm-hmm. The Protestant Reformation, the forming of the church, and then the semester before, I get to teach about, there's a chapter on Jesus, a whole chapter on Jesus. There's a chapter on Mary. There's a chapter, just different different like history of the church. It's really fun to teach. And then juniors is they get to learn sacraments. That's what I had you come in and talk about marriage, is because you work at OLA.
Yeah.
And then I did and then I do morality second semester. And then we have, I think seniors is vocations.
Oh.
All vocations. So that's marriage,
holy orders,
single life. And then you have social justice.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, all that, do they respond well to that class? Like,
which one?
All those like every year when they do religion, do you feel like they're responding well to it, and they're learning, and they're not sitting there digging their heels in, they're interested?
Most of the time, yeah. I would say that when they're not showing apathy and not caring, then they're usually engaged, and we have some pretty great discussions.
I think that's great. And it I'm convinced that the number one thing that needs to happen is people need to know what they're doing and why.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing we hear most often is, well, we don't know what we're doing. I don't know why I do it. I just do it. And it doesn't have the importance of when they know what they're doing and why.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why do I have to go to mass every Sunday? Well, when you know why, or why do I have to eat this little cracker and drink this grape juice? Well, it's not grape juice.
And it's not a cracker.
It's not a cracker. So let's learn, and then it means more.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. One thing I noticed when I came to your class was I talked to 3 different classes that day?
Yeah, you talked to the 2 juniors, and then you talked to 1 sophomore.
Right. So what I thought was interesting was some of them were very, laying there, not really wanting to pay attention or engage. And some, it took them a little while to warm up. And then when they started asking questions, they were really asking questions.
Oh, yeah.
And then they went off topic, and they had like other questions for me. And you said, is this okay? Do you want to answer it? I think I even said that to you. Is it okay if I answer? I mean, this is not why I'm here, but I'm very open and honest, and I wanted to answer them, and I did.
Yeah.
And you were fine with that. And they were challenging me and the faith, and that's fine because the answers are the answers.
Oh, yeah.
And also the other thing I found fascinating was during break, they would come in during break and ask questions.
Yeah.
So they left the class, but then they came back because they had more questions. So they're definitely interested and hungry and thirsty, but I also think they want to challenge and kind of see what the answer is going to be.
Absolutely. And they notice that it's the same answer from you that it was from me.
Right.
Because they had asked me the same questions.
Right.
And I'm like, this is the answer. And then you came and you asked, and it's still the answer.
Right. And that's what I love about the Catholic faith is that it's not just some guy's answer. It's the answer.
Yeah.
And
Jesus.
Right. And so you can't get any more legit than that.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it too, because it's like they do challenge. And I remember one day, I was in the hall, and it was a rough class. Like I talked about one thing, and one issue came up, and I started talking about it, and I just went, all in it. And they're like, they argued to the the whole entire period of why they didn't agree. And well, not everyone disagreed, but there were those that did. And my vice principal, who's now my principal, I love her. She's awesome.
Give her a shout out.
Teresa Palmazano, you're awesome. She just told me, she said, teach the teachings. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Teach the teachings, whether, it's like they're at a Catholic school for a reason.
Right.
And so she's like, you got to teach it.
And I think that's really
amazing.
I think that's really important. And I know Charles Merritt, who does our Catholic courses, he did a course. I'm trying to remember what specifically it was, but he was getting a lot of challenges from the people who come to his class. And these are adults.
Yeah.
And he was very firm in what he was talking to them about because they're the answers. He didn't candy coat it. They were, some of them really gave him pushback, but it's the answers. So I like that. I value that.
I agree because, they are the answers, and the church it's not going to change no matter, it's this, the 10 Commandments are the 10 Commandments. The difference, there's different times, but the answer is the same as it was 2,000 years ago.
Right. And there's a very valid reason for everything, and it's for our own good.
Yes.
And a lot of people, if you give everybody free rein, you're going to just go off a cliff.
Yeah.
So,
we delight in we delight in the law of God. And as a priest once put it, it's for our own good. If you love your child, so you're gonna tell them not to touch the stove when they want to touch the stove. Well, how can you do that? I really want to touch the stove. Well, then you could burn your hand.
But they do.
Yeah,
and they do.
So it's it's for your own. God does it for our own good. He's not the 10 Commandments and his commandments. They're not to hurt us.
Right. So what benefits do you think there are for teenagers who attend Catholic school? What's the benefit of a Catholic school?
There's actually two answers to that.
Okay.
That I see. I may be a little bit biased, but
okay.
As I teach religion, I feel like as though I teach the most important subject there is.
I agree.
It's more important than math, science, because if you know Jesus, you got it all.
Right.
It doesn't matter because
everything else falls into place.
Yes. I mean, I'm not very good at math, but I have God in my life, and that does everything, And one of the things that, as I teach, is we get to talk about God in our work. Also, I get to tell students and parents, things like they could really feel it because we get to actually use our prayers, and because there's some sad situations that come across,
sure.
And I could talk to a parent or a student and be like, I'm going to pray for you. You're in my prayers. God loves you. You are not an accident. You are loved by God.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I did my mission work is because I do have students that feel that way, that they are an accident, that they aren't loved, and I could tell them, you are not a mistake. You are loved by God.
Right.
You are a child of God. And I really get to implement that into my work and to tell them that as with my love as well for the students.
Well, and obviously a lot of workplaces, you're not allowed to talk about God. You're not allowed to be your actual self.
Yeah.
And when you go to work there, or these students go to school there, or even like the younger students, like at Assumption School and St. Bonaventure, that, I'm more aware of that since that's where, because I work at the church. But the fact that they get to pray and they get to go to mass and things are handled in a very different way. I'm not saying there's not problems. I'm not saying that people don't struggle. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying things are handled in a different way.
Yeah, and then you also have the sacraments. I mean, we have twice a year, and the teachers are welcome to it too. We have either twice a year or every quarter we have confession. We have by priests from all the parishes come and they give confession. They are in hidden locations, so you don't hear. Mm-hmm. Usually in a classrooms or the gym, or we find places for them. But there's confession, there's penance services. That kids can receive confession and reconciliation and absolution for their sins, as well as masses once a month. We have prayer opportunities, prayer services. We get to practice the Stations of the Cross every year, Las Posadas.
I think all that's great because some of the students maybe aren't able to, maybe they don't have access to it at home, or they don't have support at home where, who knows? Everybody has a different story. You don't know what everybody is dealing with, but that they know at school, at Catholic school, that they can pray, they can get guidance in a different way than if they were at a secular school.
Yeah. And that's like, and that's what's like, it's really cool because I do I receive spiritual direction, and I could guide them I'm not certified as a spiritual director, but I could guide them spiritually too, and like pray about it or, stuff like that. And I do have them meditate quite a bit on scripture and things in their life and different readings, as well as like videos and stuff like that. I make them meditate and actually think. But another thing is the small classroom sizes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you go to I went to public school in K through 5. And once I got up to like 4th grade, the classroom sizes went from 20 to 35 or more, or like 30, so my biggest class is about 20, like 25, 28. And so it's really nice as a teacher because I could really focus on that one-on-one attention, and I could treat every student as an individual. They're important. All bringing something to the table, and they're not just a number,
right,
or
exactly.
Or, and I could actually, if they need help, I could actually sit down and do and actually give them help.
Right.
They need.
That's great. I wouldn't be a Fresh Catholic podcast without some sort of interruption. So we're live, baby. That's what happens. That's showbiz, baby. Okay. So what are some of the differences of students in 2024 compared to when you attended high school, which wasn't that long ago compared to this lady here? But what do you think?
Oh, man. A lot has changed in just 10 years. Because I was a TA back in 2014 to 2016. Things were still pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
They started implementing the iPads right after I graduated high school. But I could just say that, and it's unfortunate, but kids now these days I call them cell phone addicts because and I'm probably just as bad in some ways too, but they are constantly on their phone, and they're so focused on social media, on that next like, and when am I gonna oh my gosh, so and so just didn't push like on my post, and
right,
or they're so into I don't remember it being this way, with makeup and just the appearance, and it was just it's very different.
Well, that comes from social media.
Yeah.
So before all that, girls did like makeup, they did like to primp and do those things. But now it's because they're constantly taking pictures and they're constantly recording everything. It's like everything is constantly very self-focused.
Yeah, and so they're more into their phones or their video games and movies than they are why don't you just I have kids sometimes sit in my classroom during lunch or something. They're watching a movie, or they're playing a game, it's there's none of this they talk, but there's never a conversation back when I was in high school.
Right. It's too bad because there's none of that interaction where instead of having your face in a phone or you're watching a movie or whatever during lunch and break, we used to talk. We used to have conversations. We used to, it was face to face. There was a lot of interaction, and now you don't get that. You get it on a screen. It's not the same thing.
I remember in middle school, I went to Catholic middle school, and I remember, and even in high school too. Well, in high school, I was kind of one of those always doing homework kind of persons. I would be during my lunch hour, I would be in the library doing homework. I never see that now. It's usually they're doing something with the phone. But I remember sitting in, I was really close. It was really tight knit with my middle school community. I remember us just sitting at our tables. We actually, we talked.
Right.
We talked for the entire 20 minutes or a break and, 35-minute lunch. We talked. And, it's really it's hard to believe that this is what the world has.
Right. It's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to think of how I want to end this talk about being a high school teacher. I'm just, I guess, like I said, I'm wondering what your hopes and wishes are for this school year, for these students. At the end of the school year, what is it going to be where you say, that was a good school year because XYZ happened?
I would say that that as I continue to grow, that my classroom management continues to grow, and that at least every 100, at least every student that I have about 100 will, or maybe a few less, but 100 or a few less, whatever the number is, that all of them will have at least one encounter with Christ. And that is the most important thing. It doesn't, I don't think it really matters. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. How much, okay, if they finish if they finish the whole entire textbook, that's awesome. But I feel like if they didn't, but they encountered the Lord and they had that encounter with the Lord and they know that it's okay and it's cool to have a relationship with God, that I did my job. Say they only got to chapter 8, but they had that, they knew God, they met God, that I did my job.
Right. I think that's a good goal. And I think maybe at the end of the year, you could do something where you ask, throughout the year, maybe have them do a lot of writing projects where you give them a question that's specifically about religion, because that's what you're teaching.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, say, what was the most important thing in this religion class that you learned, to see what they're in. Maybe ask them at the beginning of the year, what are your goals for for this class? And then at the end of the year, what was your best takeaway from this class? It would be interesting to see how maybe they go, how they grow in the year.
Yeah.
Maybe do little things like that throughout the year and see how they are progressing.
I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is before I get into content, I have had two principles so far. One, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do my first lesson on the math, and, how to, my first lesson will be on the math for all classes across the board. They're going to probably some of them have heard it. They're going to get tired of it, but that's just the way it goes.
Yes.
And then I'm going to do a whole class on the rosary, because a lot of them don't know the rosary, so I want to teach them the bead by bead meditation.
Beautiful.
And then I'm going to also implement the litany of trust, which is, if you haven't heard of it or if you haven't seen it, it's it's usually the one where it's the prayer where you have there's a list of things and your response to everything is deliver me, Jesus, or Jesus, I trust in you. It starts off with deliver me, Jesus, and it ends with Jesus, I trust in you.
I love that.
So I'm going to start that, and I continue to pray for my students, and I ask the audience here if you could all just continue to pray for my missionary team, all of the other teams, the babies and the mamas, especially the babies and the mamas, for all maternity homes across America, as well as for my students and for Lori and her husband here. That would be greatly appreciated. So,
well, I think that's a beautiful way to end this episode. Alec, look at you. He put a little bookend on the end. That's what teachers do. Put a bookend on it. So
Amen.
I appreciate you coming. We wish you the best of luck. We will put links so people can donate. And yes, please pray for all students starting this school year, especially the Catholic kids, because, we're trying to build back up that kingdom, because it's really important to have the sacraments and to have everybody know what they're doing. So thank you again for coming. Thank you. Love you. Bye.